Okay, welcome everybody. Lesson number 4, mental health. Welcome. It's good to see you. Sorry to everybody that's joining us online. We had a bit of an issue, but now we're back alive. Okay, Rebbe's view on mental health. It seems counterintuitive what the Rebbe says, but I want to explain what the Rebbe's idea. Very powerful idea. And the Rebbe says that in life, when we are going through difficult times, this is going to be the premise of tonight's class, and you're having a hard time, one of the best things you can do is think about something else and focus on things that bring you joy. Don't focus on the negativity in your life. Now that sounds like, well, maybe it sounds like you're going into denial, right? Isn't the whole thing, go to therapy, talk about your problems, discuss what's wrong. Don't run away from your problems. And what the Rebbe is saying is not go into denial and not hide from your issues. What the Rebbe is saying is that there is a time and a place for everything. In fact, the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, and the Alter Rebbe says that there's something called merirus. There's something called that I should feel bitter, I should feel upset about the fact that I've done things wrong in my life. And the Alter Rebbe says you're not allowed to feel bad about the sins that you've done all day long. What you're supposed to do is set aside a time every day. The Alter Rebbe says, ideally, before you go to sleep at night, before Kriyat Shema, Shalamita, before you say Shema at night, where you can reflect on your day, think about what you did, think about what you didn't do, feel bad for a little bit, look at it, write it down. I'm saying you don't have to write it down, but write it down in your mind. Close the book and go back to joy. Because sitting around all day long and focusing on your problems and your negativity is not going to allow you to serve God. It's not going to make you a better husband or a better wife, a better child, a better parent, a better person. In fact, the Alter Rebbe says, what happens if in the middle of my day I'm busy working and I'm doing my job? Let's say I'm a wood chopper, times the Alter Rebbe, or I'm a water carrier. And all of a sudden I'm like, oy vey, I didn't concentrate during my davening today, and I spoke Lashon Hara, and I spoke negatively about others, and really, I'm like, I must be like such a righteous person, because even when I'm doing my work, I'm feeling bad about the way that I'm upset with myself for the way I behaved. Alter Rebbe says, no. Why are these thoughts coming to you right now? You think they're coming to you from a holy place or from a negative place? Are they going to make you more upbeat and want to serve God more? Or are they going to make you more depressed and sad and overwhelmed? They're going to make you depressed and overwhelmed. Even at work, you're not supposed to think about that either. When you're davening, also you don't think about it. When I'm in the middle of prayers, I'm like, oh, such a bad person, and I could be better, and I did things wrong, and that's not the time to be thinking about it. Davening, you're supposed to, when you're praying, you think about God and your connection to God, and how I can live my life with more meaning and more purpose and more joy. If you want to think about the things you did wrong, set aside a time for it. And you know what you'll find? That when you set aside to think about the mistakes you made, you know what you're going to end up doing at that time? You'll be very distracted and not think about what a bad person you are. You know why? Because your Yetzer Hara, your animal soul, your negative inclination is very, very smart. He's called the smart fox. He knows exactly how to dress him up himself. He dresses himself up sometimes in the robes of a very righteous man and says, really, Avi, even though you're driving on the 101 right now, you should start feeling bad about the negative things you've said and about how you should learn more and pray more. He comes to me as a rabbi because he knows at that time, if he comes along and says, dressed up as another person, I'll recognize him right away and I'll say, get out of my head. But if he comes along and says, Avi, you're not holy enough, I might say, no, maybe you're right. But then when at night, when I'm supposed to be thinking about holiness, and I'm supposed to think about I could be better tomorrow, he comes in and he says, what happened in the soccer game yesterday? What happened in the sports game? What popped up on your phone today? What email did you get? What text did you get? What this, what that? I'm like, oh, I don't know. He comes like a little child, like a little child that disturbs you and confuses you. Every time he comes dressed up in different clothing, your Yetzer Hara, your animal soul, doesn't always come dressed up the same way. If he did, you'd recognize him all the time. Same thing it is when it comes to negativity in our lives. The Rebbe says is that when a person in general in life, this is the general rule, remember, we discussed that if a person needs medical help, you got to go to a doctor. We're talking when a person's on an even playing field. In general, in your life, it's not healthy for you to be overwhelmed and sad and think about negative things. You're not supposed to sit around thinking about, oh, everybody else is better than me and I'm not so good. Everyone else is getting ahead in life and I'm not capable. Whatever depressive and anxious thoughts that come to your mind, they're not there to help you. So what is a good thing you can do? Remove your mind from that negativity. Now, we all have issues. I mean, I have issues. Nobody else on this table has issues. So you set aside a time to speak to your therapist. Prepare yourself, organize yourself, write your notes, go talk to your therapist, speak about what's bothering you, think about what you need to fix in your life, whatever kind of therapy you're going to. Sure, it's wonderful. And then you carry on. You go back to life. Can't spend your whole life in that sad place. I remember when I was a child and I didn't have friends and my parents were tough on me. Go to your therapist, talk about it, experience it, feel it, whatever you want to do it. If it's if you're doing a way of just speaking about it, if you're doing somatic therapy, if you're doing whatever kind of therapy you're doing, and then go back to life. You have to go back to life. And you got to go back to life with joy. And you have to replace negative thoughts with positivity and positive things. And we're going to discuss this in detail here tonight. All right. So if you have a book, if you could just share with the person next to you. If you don't have one, we're not going to read a lot of text tonight, just one or two, and then we're going to show some really powerful videos. Okay. If you look at text number 1a, it says as follows. With regard to the thought which you expressed in your letter, I believe I have already written to you before that there are many problems and states of mind which are best dealt with by dismissing them from the mind completely. The Rebbe doesn't say always, but many. There are many states of mind which are best dealt with by dismissing them from the mind completely. We're on page number 92. Thank you. At any rate, for a period of time. It is then possible to return to those problems with a fresh mind and in a more objective state. So if you've got a problem in your life, by the way, this is a very good idea. If you have an issue, whatever, you're spinning, you're just stuck on a negative thing, go for a hike, go for a walk, go to the gym, go play golf, go do whatever you want, go for lunch. I don't know. Go do something. You got to break that negative cycle. And then you can come back to those thoughts again. You should come back to them proactively. Right? Are we good? So far, are we good?
There's one on my laptop with the issues, but I'll assume it's me.
There you go. See, he's. I really want to marry you. See, all these issues are his. So now I got distracted. You got to break the cycle. Then you got to come back to the negative thoughts. But you got to. The trick is that these negative thoughts, that I go to these thoughts proactively. Did I go to the negative thoughts, or did the negative thoughts come to me? If the negative thoughts came to me, that's not a good situation. Then I'm not in control. That means that the animal soul, the Yetzer Hara, he's tricking me. He's throwing me around. He's playing with me by my tail, right? Oh, you're feeling happy? Let's throw in something about your childhood now. You're having a good day. Remember that time that you messed up, you embarrassed yourself in public. Oh, you're feeling good about yourself. Remember the time you lost so much money or whatever, right? He's throwing you around by the tail. If you want to feel bad about something, you want to have a life-changing moment, you proactively set aside time for it, which is why therapy is good, by the way. You have to proactively set aside time to go and speak to somebody. Your therapist keeps you on track. A good therapist actually just reflects you, right? They're not there. Everyone, if you think that you go to your therapist for advice, then you obviously haven't been to therapy. Your therapist's job is not to give you advice. Their job is to reflect you and allow you to come to the solutions within yourself, right? Through their different models or however they do it. But that's generally the idea of a therapist. You're supposed to go there. They keep you on track. It's like a personal trainer. When you go to the gym, you can go there, do a couple of weights, and then go, I'm tired. I'm not in the mood. Do 2 or 3 other things and leave. If you have a personal trainer, they keep you on track. The therapist's job is to keep you on track, talking about something, helping you follow your thoughts, seeing where you're going with everything. So, who is controlling the thoughts? Me or my animal soul? Now, my animal soul lives inside my head. So it feels like it's also me, which is what the Tanya, the Alter Rebbe comes along in the Tanya, and he says, listen here, my friend, not every thought that you're having is good. It's all a part of you, but it's not all good. There's a kind of therapy. There's a new, I believe it's a newer kind of therapy called internal family systems, right? Internal family systems. Everybody familiar with it? IFS. Okay. Dr. Tversky says like this, everybody. Listen well. There are two kinds of people in the world. Those that are in therapy, and there's everybody else that needs to be in therapy. Okay, so don't have to be embarrassed by anything. But there's a wonderful new kind of therapy called IFS, internal family systems. And I haven't done a lot of it, but officially, from what I understand, what it means is inside of our heads, we have all kinds of, not people, but ideas. So you got the CEO, you got the marketing person, you got the child, you got the parent, you've got the angry person, you got the person that's forgiving. Now we get confused because we think, am I forgiving? Am I angry? Am I okay with the situation, or am I not okay with the situation? And IFS is about listening to say, okay, the CEO in my head says, in this circumstance, really the best way forward is this way. But then the little child is crying and say, if you're just going to move forward, why aren't you listening to me? I'm really sad about the situation. So it's all about remembering you've got different parts of you that are experiencing. Every experience we go through in life, we're experiencing it on numerous levels. It's not one big monolith. That's a big, a very important idea of therapy or dealing with issues is realizing there's many parts to us. We're made up of many, many different parts, and you have to help each part of you. You have to help the little child in you. You have to help the parent in you. You have to help the party that wants to move forward. You have to help the party that wants to get stuck. So IFS is that there's many internal family systems, like inside of you, there's a whole family going on. You have to listen to every voice, and then you choose which one you want to follow at that time. How did I get into the IFS? Because I was saying the therapist. Oh, who's in control? Your Alter Rebbe says in the Tanya that you have different kind of voices, not voices like you're crazy, like you have voices in your head, but you have different parts of you pulling you in different directions. In general, he says, there's the animal soul and the godly soul. The animal soul is made up of many different dimensions, but in general, he's trying to distract you from being proactive, happy, and getting ahead in life. That's his job. Trying to keep you not connected to God, not connected to the things that are important in life. It could be he comes sometimes in the clothing of a workaholism. It says, go work, pulling you away from your wife and your kids, and then you don't have time to go to shul. Sometimes he comes and says, go to shul. But really, you should really stay home and be with your wife and with your kids, maybe using religion as an escape. Do you understand? He comes dressed up all the time to confuse you. If he is the one driving the car, you got a problem. Now, who is the natural driver of the car? When you wake up in the morning, the animal soul. You have to proactively take control of your life and of your mind. So you need to say, right now, Avi, this is not a good time to be thinking about this. We'll think about it later on tonight. If it's easier for you, make a note. So therefore, your brain doesn't have to hold on to it. If there's something negative going on in your head, write it down, make a note, and say, tonight, I'll think about it. And when your brain says, but you got to think about it now, you go, say, thank you very much. I have a note. I'll get back to you. Like, it doesn't have to be dealt with right now. So what the Rebbe is saying is, very often when it comes to mental health, if we are finding ourselves in a negative cycle with negative thoughts, go away from that cycle. Leave that negativity alone for now. Do something else, and you can come back to it. We're not saying be in denial, but come back to it at a proactive time, when I'm the one that's driving the car. I'm going to go back and think about that difficult childhood. I'm the one that's going to go back and think about those difficult ideas that I'm going through, that I don't feel like I'm good enough, or I feel like that I'm better than everyone, or I've got anger issues, or whatever my issues are in life. I'm going to be the one that goes back to that and unpack it at the right time. Okay? Easy to find the proposition. In the vast majority of such cases, the individual himself can decide how long this period of dismissal from attention should be, judging by the degree of objectivity which he can attain as time goes on. So everybody says, well, how long do you have to go away from these negative thoughts from this place? You'll know eventually. You don't have to ask somebody else. You'll know. So the Rebbe's key message over here, just to start off the class, is that don't get stuck in the darkness. Darkness, negativity is all a part of life. Everybody goes through it. You're not special that you're going through it. A big part of going through challenging times with our mental health is a person might feel like I'm the only one that's having a hard time. Everybody else seems to have it together, especially today with Facebook and Instagram and the TikTok. You know, old people call it the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok, right? It feels like everybody else has got it all together. I'm the only Schmendrick that can't figure my life out. I'm the only one that has issues with my wife and my kids and my job and my this and my that. different times of your life. We all go through different challenges, right? Everybody goes through challenges, right? There's another great saying. I think it's also from Rabbi Twersky, but I might be putting words in his mouth, but it's a good saying either way. And that saying is, the only people that you think are normal are the people you don't really know. The only people that you think are normal are the people you don't really know. Right? If you think somebody else has got it all together, you don't know what's going on in that person's life. Everyone's got their pekel, as we say in Yiddish. Everyone's got their little something that they carry around with them, and we all go through hard times in life. Okay, so it's about learning how to manage the challenges in life. Another important idea is dealing with mental health is it's not like you're ever looking for the total cure. Like, I'll never be overwhelmed, I'll never be sad. How do I best deal with the challenges that I have? How do I allow myself to bounce back quicker from the challenges that I have? That's really what a healthy mental health can be judged by. How quickly can I bounce back from a difficult challenge or from a bad morning? Right? Some people have a bad morning and then it's a whole bad week. Right? You talk to them on Thursday, you're like, how was your week? It was a disaster. On Monday morning, somebody upset me, and then the day was a disaster, and then Tuesday just carried on, and Wednesday was bad, and because they weren't able to pull themselves out of the negative place where they got into on Monday morning. The healthier you get with mental health, the more it's like you have bad hours or bad mornings or bad days. You don't have bad weeks and days and months. You understand? You learn how to bounce back. Either you have a bad hour, then you bounce back by the morning, or you have a bad morning and then you come back by the afternoon, or you have a bad day and you wake up the next day better, instead of it just being this ongoing, continuous negative cycle. Okay, so the Rebbe is saying over here is that if you get stuck somewhere, don't allow yourself to be stuck there. Change, bring something else more positive into your life. Okay. So the Rebbe's guidance follows a recurring angle that also applies to emotional wellness, and this idea is that fixating on an issue in order to understand it, that's what people think you should do. But a novel approach is moving the mind away from bothersome thoughts and towards productive activities. Okay. And then the Rebbe says, if you feel like you should come back to those thoughts, but come back proactively. Don't come back whenever your Yetzer Hara wants to throw you off the horse. You're finally out, right? Vacations could be the worst things for people ever. Finally get to Hawaii, or as they say in Yiddish, Hawaii. You know the joke that the old Jew, Yankel, and his wife, Sarla, went on vacation to Hawaii. And they got off the plane, and they were having an argument. Is it called, Chaim says it's Hawaii, and his wife says, no, it's Hawaii. And they arguing, bickering, this old Jewish couple. And they say, you know, we're going to work it out? We're going to ask the next person that we see in the airport, how do you say it? So they see this guy coming with his nice Bermuda shorts and his Hawaiian shirt and a big gold chain, and an older gentleman. And they say to him, "Excuse me, sir, can we ask you a question?" He says, "Yeah." They say, is it Hawaii or is it Hawaii? So the man says Hawaii, and he walks off. So the husband turns to the wife. He says, "You see, I told you, mister, I really appreciate it." He says, "You're very welcome." The old Yiddish Jews understand that, right? You're very welcome. So what did that have to do with anything? But what's it going to do with you're very welcome in Hawaii? I have no idea. Oh, people go on vacation. Thank you. It's a long day for you. Thank you for following my ADHD. You go on vacation. You finally have a moment in Hawaii when you're not busy. You sit down on the beach and you find out that the worst person in the whole world has come on vacation with you. Yourself. Your own thoughts. And now you're not distracted and you're like, oh, what am I supposed to think about over here? What am I supposed to do? And all kinds of negative things start popping up for you because you're not distracted by the rest of life. So everybody goes through this. We have to learn how to deal with the negative thoughts, how to come back to them. And often, how do we learn how to leave them and then proactively come back to them? This is going to be the recurring theme of tonight. focusing on the idea, don't get stuck on your negative thoughts. If you get to Hawaii and you're finally having a nice time and negative thoughts come up, say to your negative thoughts, thank you for coming, but right now I finally got to Hawaii. My time is to be relaxed and enjoy myself, because part of life is supposed to enjoy our lives. Of course, we're talking about going to a beach, separate beaches where there's men on one side, right? What do we call it in Hebrew? Chof nifrad, or what's it called? Chof b'afrada, but it's like they call like a religious. They have also called like religious beaches or whatever. Men's beaches and women's beaches. That's what I'm referring to. Of course, I don't know what other Hawaii there is, but you're supposed to enjoy yourself and sunbathe and read your book and relax and recharge yourself. It's very important to relax. But if the whole vacation you're going to sit there thinking about what a loser you are, or all your problems that you have, and how you, whatever, all these thoughts come up to you because you're not distracted by regular life, then what's the point of going to Hawaii? What's the point of going on vacation? In fact, you should have stayed home. In fact, families that go on vacation and come back together in one piece, you've done a good job. You're doing good. Okay, so in order to shut off undesirable thoughts, engage the mind in unrelated areas. So if you're thinking about something that's really pulling you down, think about something completely different. Focus on another area altogether. I want to share with you a beautiful, beautiful video. This is really emotional and very powerful video.
My grandmother, Taiba Lipsker, was a very, very special and holy woman. Like many of our grandmothers, she did not enjoy a serene and easy, smooth life. Growing up in Bolshevik, communist Russia as a Jew was difficult. Raising a family in Georgia during the 1930s under Stalin's tyranny was far from simple. Then came the war. They escaped the former Soviet Union on false papers, came to the displaced persons camps, the DP camps. Again, life was anything but serene, raising a large family, sometimes in one-bedroom flat. My grandparents made it in 1947 to the United States of America. They settled on a farm in New Jersey. That too didn't turn out so successful, and they relocated to Brooklyn, New York. My grandparents raised 9 beautiful, amazing children and a 10th orphan. Making a livelihood proved very complicated, and the upheavals of her life took their toll on her. She suffered from anxiety, from depression, from melancholy. And one day my grandmother consulted the Lubavitcher Rebbe what to do about her internal psychological and emotional state. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave her fascinating advice. He suggested to her that she go to as many Jewish weddings as possible and to dance away at these weddings and inspire other people to dance. As it happens to be, my grandmother was an exceptionally skilled dancer. She embraced the Rebbe's advice, and for decades, she would go to every possible wedding and dance away. Family, friends, relatives, community members, and sometimes complete strangers. Everybody knew Mrs. Lipsker is here. She is the life of the wedding and the life of the party. This was not part of her nature. This was quite contrary to her nature, but she did it, and she did it with every fiber of her being. She lived in Crown Heights in Brooklyn. There were many Bali Tshuva, young women and men who returned to Judaism, and they had small families attending the wedding, or sometimes no families. And my grandmother would come in, and she brought so much joy and vigor and stamina and inspiration to the wedding. She would dance away sometimes for hours with the bride and with the mothers and with the siblings and with the families and with the relatives. And indeed, the joy that she brought to hundreds and thousands of people over long decades, it came back to her. It gave her so much joy and strength and fortitude and resilience and inspiration. Besides the fact, exercising a few times a week for a few hours a night, dancing with all your might is also very effective for anxiety.
So the video, I don't know why the JLI, they cut out the best part of the whole story. what happened is that her grandchild, and she looked into her 90s, 94, 95, and one of her grandchildren were getting married. Everybody got dressed and went to the wedding, and they found out that she got ill. I don't know what it was, a heart attack or whatever. Something happened to her. She couldn't breathe. They rushed her to the hospital, and the mother of the bride, who was probably the mother or the grandmother, probably the grandmother of the girl getting married, was her great-grandchildren already. She's in her 90s. Went to the hospital. Anyhow, eventually the word spread out through the family that everybody, that the great-grandmother was in hospital. And everybody started showing up at the hospital dressed up for a wedding. And then eventually at the end of the wedding, even the chassan and the kala came to visit the great-grandmother. And they all started singing. Everybody was there, all the men dressed in their clothing for a wedding, all the women dressed in their clothing for the wedding. And they started singing with her in the ICU, to the extent that one of the nurses came over and said, "What is this, a wedding or an ICU?" And she actually passed away, surrounded by her own family, dressed in their wedding clothes with a chassan and a kala, and a wedding happening. So she lived her life at a wedding, and she passed away at a wedding, so to speak. And this changed her life, and she would do it with joy. This is that Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, right, who's a famous speaker. It's his mother's mother, Mrs. Rebbetzin Lipsker. His grandmother, his mother, yeah, but his mother's, yeah, his maternal grandmother, because he's a Jacobson and she's a Lipsker. So the point is, she did it also because the Rebbe told her to do it also. Sometimes it's not easy to pull yourself out of darkness, but she was lucky. The Rebbe told her. So when she would get that little voice that says, "Be sad, be overwhelmed," like you want to go to a wedding, you want to get dressed up again. It's exhausting. Today you took the grandchildren to here, and you went over there, and you had a leak in your toilet. You really want to go to the wedding tonight? The Rebbe told me I got to go to weddings, so I got to get up, and I got to get out, and I got to do it. Right? Inspiration won't get you anywhere. What has the saying going when it comes to going to the gym? Consistency is everything. What's this is a saying? Like, consistency is everything, and inspiration will get you nowhere. You can't only do things when you feel good and you feel in the mood of doing them. You have to be forced into a bigger picture, right? So for her, she had the blessing. The Rebbe told her, you have to go to weddings. So she had to go to weddings. And when she was there, she had to dance. Because she didn't, I go to weddings, I stand on the side. She went to the wedding, she had to dance, even though he says it wasn't in her nature. But she pushed herself to do it. That's all a side point. The main point is that when you're overwhelmed, you do something else. She went to weddings. She went to dance. She focused on the good. She focused on something else outside of her challenges. Right? So too in our lives, we need to find something that when we're in a negative place, go do something else. A good idea is sometimes if you're overwhelmed, some people get into funks, right? Get into a dark place. Do something you enjoy. Art, hike, bike riding, do everything except for watch a movie and eat potato chips. Because that's not going to get you out of your negative place, right? Got to go and do something that you enjoy that's proactive and good. And you have to learn a person has to learn also how to be kind to themselves and give themselves the space to do that. Sometimes we might feel like, I don't have time for this. Wasting my time. What, I'm such a loser. I can't even work the whole day. I got to take an afternoon off, day off, a week off, whatever it is. Yes, sometimes you have to do that. A good way to look at it is if your child came to you with this issue and said, "Dad, I've been working for the last week or month or 6 years or 25 or 45 years. I'm exhausted. I'm having a hard morning. I got a bad phone call back. Something fell through." You tell your son, "Hey, get back to work harder, make more cold calls." Or you say, "Take the day off. Go for a hike. I don't know. Go for a swim. Go look at the ocean. Go walk on the beach without your shoes on. I don't know. Whatever it takes." That's how we should learn how to talk to ourselves also. Treat ourselves nicely. Sometimes we're harsh on ourselves, or sometimes we could easily be our own biggest critic. Our own biggest source of problem could be ourselves sometimes. Okay, so we see over here the Rebbe's advice is don't remain stuck in the negative place. Do something that's going to remove you from that. Focus on something else. For her, it was going to a wedding. For you, it could be just stop thinking about whatever that negative thought is and start thinking about work again. If you're thinking about work when you get home, and that's pulling away from your family, put the work aside and start thinking about, I don't know, your kids, or talk to your kids about football or basketball or whatever you enjoy talking about. Do something that brings you back into where you need to be. Break away from the negativity and go back to a positive place. All right. So the Rebbe advised a woman struggling with anxiety to dance at as many weddings as possible. All right? Good. Now, the Rebbe believed in something. Well, let's read text number 1C on page 94. If you want to look in with the person next to you, if you have text. The Rebbe says like this: generally is the teaching of our sages that nothing stands in the way of repentance for the past and commitment for the future, right? Here too, the principle enunciated above may be applied, namely that although it is necessary to end the transgression immediately, whether it is a sin of commission or omission, doing something wrong or not doing something right, it is also often necessary to end immediately any self-recrimination or brooding in regard to the sins of the past. Don't sit there and beat yourself up, the Rebbe is saying very clearly. One of the obvious reasons for this is that brooding over past failures is bound to be depressing and discouraging and would undermine one's confidence in the future, even one's confidence in the efficacy of teshuvah, of repentance. Therefore, it is advisable to dismiss such thoughts for the time being and leave them for more propitious times. You don't sit around and saying, oh, I should have done more teshuvah, I should be a better Jew, I should do more good things, I should go to shul more, I should do this, I should, all of this negative stuff, right? All these negative thoughts then come. And if you do study, then you say, well, I should really study for 5 more minutes, and I'm really lazy, and whatever the things are that you do. Celebrate the good things, and the negative things, let go of them and come back to them at another time. May God grant that you should have good news to report in regard to all the above. All right. So this is an interesting short clip.
I was imprisoned, and this rabbi here, and also the feeling of you helped me get through it.
God Almighty will soon forget about all this past.
I know.
You know what Passover is?
Yes.
Yeah. If the Jews have forgotten about Mitzrayim, it is time for you to forget about your prison also. God Almighty bless you, even if it's difficult, but try your best. God Almighty bless you.
Thank you.
Very powerful. They're a convict, someone that broke the law. In fact, out of Chabad, there's an organization called the Aleph Institute. Anybody heard of the Aleph Institute? Okay. The Aleph Institute helps people that are in prison, and it also has a division that helps people that are in the army. In the 1970s, Rabbi Lipsker, who is the rabbi in Bell Harbor, Florida, moved out to Bell Harbor, Florida, Surfside. Anyhow, in the 70s, the rabbi told him he'd like him to look into what's being done for prisoners, Jewish prisoners in America. And he started the Aleph Institute. Every summer, they send out young rabbis to visit any prisoner anywhere in America. They want to get visited, they will get visited. They send them books, they send them literature. For the holidays, if there's enough prisoners in a certain prison, they'll even send bochrim, young students, to go and run services over there for the high holidays, etc. Last year, we had a young bocher over here, Rabbi Mendy Zwiebel, who was here for the year, reaching out to the community. He spent many weeks the year before. He spent like 6 weeks, and then after he left, after he finished here, he went on another 6 or 7 week journey where they literally drove hours from one prison to another prison, visiting criminals, murderers, rapists, thieves, all kinds of criminals, because yes, they've sinned, but they're still good inside of everybody. And even a person that has sinned should still do good with their lives. You should never write off somebody completely. How that works exactly, you need to get a what's the word? A complete forgiveness from the president, For complete pardon. For anything you could have done, would do, and maybe you might want to do. But how does it work? The bottom line is, what the Rebbe was teaching is that within every person there is holiness. And it's easy for any of us to get stuck on the negativity. But you have to look deeper than negativity, and you have to look around the negativity. Deep in the negativity is your soul. Around the negativity is you've done bad, but you've also done good. and we have to try and bring out the good in everybody. Now, I want to share with you an amazing video, an interview of a psychologist from Israel, and you'll see his discussion. And he says that he speaks about a patient that he had that he thought there was no hope for. Thought this person's never going to come out of this situation. They were in drugs and involved with really bad people and players and with dark place. And the Rebbe encouraged him to help that person out. And that person came out of the place where they were and they healed. And he's going to explain in detail in the video, you'll see, he says, how could it be that the Rebbe was able to help him? And he says, because we see in others what we see in ourselves. He says in psychology, you judge others, but we're all trying to understand the world through our own lens. So when someone comes to you and says they're having a hard time, you try to understand, when in my life did I go through this? How would I respond? How can I help them? Everything in life we're viewing through our own lens. He says that the Rebbe lived his life at the deepest core of his own soul. And so within everybody, the Rebbe saw the soul. The Rebbe never gave up on anybody, because there's always, the soul is always still there. So never give up, because you got to access the soul. This is the next idea of tonight's class, and that is that number one is, from a practical perspective, move away from the negativity. Number two is, you are not the negativity. The negativity is a part of you, it's not you. There's something far deeper than the negativity that's inside of you. That's your soul, that's your purity, that's your journey, that's your mission down here in this world. And our job is to look for it and to find it. All right, so let me just get to this beautiful...
You want to put the microphone on, and then you can...
Yeah, how do we do that? Make it a little bit louder? Just so scared I'm going to mess it up again.
If you stop sharing, you might be able to do what we were doing before, but you can also just use this microphone that's in here. And you can plug it in.
Which microphone? Oh, I don't need a microphone. Oh, for the sound.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that will be
Everybody
easier.
else can play.
Yeah, that will be easier. Good idea. Well played. Well played, Mark.
You Put that in on that side.
We'll be a little bit louder for everybody here.
You gotta figure out where the sound comes from.
The sound comes from somewhere here. Anyway, you'll get it.
Yeah.
So over here.
Here, so this wherever this needs
Yeah.
to be.
Okay. Okay. So what is the Torah basis for the Rebbe's approach, and what is the logical basis? If the Rebbe says, reach out to prisoners, reach out to everybody, never give up on yourself, never give up on anybody, what is the foundation of it all? The Rebbe's foundation of it all is that divine inner health lies at the core of every human being. If you look deeper and deeper, you will find the real you, the part of you that's healthy. Engaging the mind in a healthy place brings to the forefront the healthy part inside of us. So if you sit around being negative all day, you're just going to engage the negative part of you. If you start engaging a healthier, more proactive part of yourself, you will start getting into the deeper, healthier parts of yourself. Okay? And then an important idea is God's providence accompanies each of us in every detail of our lives. Now, every detail of your life also means your thoughts, by the way. It's not just when you get on the train and the guy shouts at you, or you go to Starbucks, or you're on the freeway and the person cuts you off. Every thought you get, God's sending you. You understand that, everybody? You think you're in control of your thoughts. You're not in control of your thoughts. You're in control over which thoughts you decide to keep thinking about. But you don't control the pop-ups. Want to follow me a little bit? Not so much.
Yeah.
The thoughts that you get, where do they come from? They come from your mind somewhere, right? Who's controlling that computer?
Sure.
You think you are. Your subconscious is. Who's really controlling that? Hashem. When a negative thought comes up, says, oh, you're a loser. You're not so good. You're on the beach. It says, oh, you don't deserve to be here. Where's that coming from? Hashem. It's from you, but it's also Hashem sending it to you at that time. So is Hashem sending it to you because he wants you to be depressed on the beach? Depends. If you're on the mixed beach, maybe. But if you're on the separate beach, then he's definitely not sending it to you at that time. So why is he sending it to you? It's a test. Everything's a test. It's all there, but Hashem is with you through every single test that you go through in life.
Professor Ruvain Feuerstein is a world-renowned Israeli clinical and developmental cognitive psychologist, Founder and director of the International Center for the Enhancement of Learning Potential, his applied systems are being implemented in over 80 countries across the globe.
The rabbi referred to me children for their problems of development, some epileptic children, some Down syndrome children, and wherever I came, and wherever I visited or I worked in my field, people were addressing themselves to me. The rabbi wants you to see our child. And some of them received really letters from the rabbi or the word from the rabbi that I should see their child. And one of the things, and I must say, they believe that such a thing is possible, that people with genetic disorders, chromosomal disorders, can be turned into high functioning, normal functioning, and very close to study, to Yiddishkeit, etc. I heard it very much from the rabbi. It was a daring thing, because at this time, people didn't believe it's possible. One particular case, which I cannot disclose, and therefore it came from a country in Europe. This boy was considered to be mentally defective. One didn't believe that he will ever be able to function and to be independent and to be. And this man, the father, in some way he was not a very religious person, came to the rabbi. The rabbi told him to bring his son to me. The son came here and was placed in a family. He learned to read. He was sitting here near this door on a chair with a Tehillim. The rabbi said to finish Tehillim each week. And he learned this. It was the third year that he was with us. And he learned this. And Baruch Hashem, this went very well. And we were already feeling that we have done what the rabbi told us to do and empowered us to do. And we felt Atzlacha. Then things happened, and this young man went into the greatest danger. Not only drugs, but things which I cannot tell you. He ran away, and he came into a place from where very few people came out. And I then addressed myself to the rabbi. The rabbi said, don't leave him off your hand. Continue. And he gave me even a suggestion to send somebody to take him out from this place. I have never believed it will be possible. But the rabbi said, I've sent somebody. We took out this young man from this terrible, terrible, promiscuous drug people. With all, there's no Avirah Sheba'olam he was not involved with. He came back. I want you to know, he is now the father of 4 children. Many of them, 2 of them, learning in yeshiva. And they are the only children of this family, only grandchildren of this family, which the grandparents can be proud of. I as a psychologist, and one says a good psychologist, could never believe that with my own knowledge and my own psychology, I would have ever been able to do it. Usually, in such cases, we raise our hands, nothing to do. Not with the rabbi. I must tell you something. Psychology, as it is taught, is very limited. Our understanding of the other is very much affected and related to our understanding of ourselves. In the way the rabbi understood the condition of the individual, in the way he claimed and suggested and felt empowered to say, yes, do it, there is a very different way of seeing the human being. Not as a just reflection of yourself, but as something which comes be'ara dilela.
The Rebbe never gave up on anybody because the Rebbe saw the source of it. The Rebbe was connected to his neshama, so he saw the neshama of everybody else. Most of us were connected to our egos. So I see the world, I see my ego inside of you. Right? If when you're interacting with somebody else, I don't want to say this, you might get angry with me, you might get upset with me, you might do this to me, because that's how I would behave. Or I think I would behave in circumstances like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? We connect to other people through our own lens, our own worldview. The Rebbe's worldview was the world of the soul, and therefore the Rebbe saw deeper than that. So the Rebbe says, next idea on mental health. You are pure, you are healthy, you're able to live a happy life, you're able to have a beautiful life. You might have challenges, and you might not be as smart or as good or as successful as other people around you, and whatever the voices in your mind tell you that you're not enough in this world. That's not what you're supposed to be. You're getting stuck at the surface level. You are a beautiful soul, and your soul is sent down to this world to have certain challenges, emotionally, financially, marriage-wise, children-wise. You're not a loser for the family you have or the children or the life that you're experiencing. This is the journey of your soul down here. Everybody's soul has a different journey down here. Look at yourself. A big challenge in as far as mental health goes is comparing ourselves. As human beings, we are like creatures, are like pack animals, for lack of a better word. Well, there's a better word for it, but we exist in relation to other people. And we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people. They're more successful, they got a nicer house, they look better, they're taller, their kids are good, their kids are bad. We're always comparing ourselves. My life's not as good as this person, but at least I'm not that person, right? They actually say the joke. They say, you know how a Jew defines Judaism? Anybody that's more religious than me, anyone that's less religious than me is behaving like a goy. And anyone that's more religious than me is just crazy. I've got the right path. So we're always comparing ourselves. That's what we do as humans. There's actually a great teaching that I love to share from Jordan Peterson. He's got a book called The 12 Rules for Life. And I think his second or third rule is, he says, the only person you should ever compare yourself to is yourself, who you were yesterday. Not even yourself, because otherwise you can say, geez, 5 years ago I was in shape. 5 years ago I had life under control. 5 years ago my kids were happy. 5 years ago, I don't know, I had a better job. 5 years ago, I should have invested in crypto. That's what I should have done 5 years ago. 5 years ago, right? 5 years ago, you can look at yourself today and say, well, even compared to myself, I'm a loser, right? I'm not even anywhere, for sure, to other people, I'm a loser. But even compared to myself, I'm a loser. The only person you need to be better today, the only person that you need to be better than today is who you were yesterday. Which is why we mention during prayers every day, we mention Exodus from Egypt all the time. The key component of prayer is the Exodus from Egypt. We don't speak about the giving of the Torah. We don't speak about the journeys in the desert for 40 years. We don't speak about any of that stuff, but we say the Az Yashir every day. We speak about God splitting the Red Sea. We speak about in the Shema that we were slaves to Pharaoh and God took us out. We speak a lot about the Exodus from Egypt all the time. Why? Because every day our job is not to be a slave to who we were yesterday. And if you want to break that down onto a smaller scale, you're not supposed to be a slave to who you were even this morning or an hour ago or the thoughts that you have right now. You have to break free of that negativity and those limitations, etc. Okay, so we're always constantly supposed to be trying to be a little bit better than who we were yesterday. Okay, so we each have our own journey. It is completely irrelevant where anybody else is holding in life. That's the truth. It has nothing to do with your journey down here. Zero, zip, nada. Whatever somebody else is going through, the blessings and the challenges, thank God for their blessings, and we pray for their challenges to go away. But it's got nothing to do with me. I don't have their journey. I haven't lived their life. I don't have the gifts they have or the challenges they have. There's an interesting idea on that is they say the story from the shtetl that everybody in the community was complaining how everybody else's life was better. So there's an allegory. So the rabbi said, okay, everybody go home and pack all your problems into a pekel, into a little bundle, and come back to the town square. So everybody came back with all their problems packed into a pekel. And they all put it in the, he said, okay, everybody get in a circle, put down your problems in the middle. And then he said, okay, everybody, you now can go and look at everybody else's pekel, see everybody else's problems, and you are welcome to choose anybody else's gifts and challenges and take them home with you. And everybody went to the middle of the circle and they looked in, like, oh, the Schwartzes and the Cohens, or the Levies, I don't know who we got in the street. Well, imagine someone we don't have in the room. I thought that their life was, I didn't realize they have this and they have that. And the next pekel and the next pekel, and everybody ended up taking their own pekel and went home with their own challenges. The idea, first of all, you don't know what's going on in somebody else's life, but also a very important meditation on this is that the challenges that you have, Hashem gave to you, and Hashem gave you the power to overcome those challenges. The challenges somebody else has, you're not able to overcome them because God didn't give them to you. So He didn't give you the power to overcome them. So you're living your life, and they are living their life. Even when it comes to spouses, by the way. Can't expect your spouse to be the same as you. Bounce back from problems like you do, relate to life the same way you do. They're on their journey. Your job is to support them on their journey. But you can't make them be somebody else. You can't tell them to be you. Oh, if I would have this problem, this is how I would behave. Children also. You have to guide your children and encourage your children, but you can't force your kids to be you. Every kid, especially in today's world, every kid needs to go on their journey and figure out their path. We're all on our own journeys. This is a very important idea. It feels like we're all in the same boat. We're actually not. We're all in our own canoes going down. We're even going down our own rivers. You think we're all in the same river. No, we're not. Certain people have got currents pushing them and rocks that you don't even know exist. And you think we're all going through life. There was an election, 3 months ago. We're all in the same world. We're all worried about Israel. Everyone's living in the same world. You have no idea what's going on in somebody else's world. And in fact, it's even impossible to know. Because you don't know their world. You have no idea their world. You don't know their level of emotional capability. You don't know the challenges they have with anxiety, depression, sadness. You don't know their childhood. You don't know what their marriage is like. You don't know what their children are like. You don't know what their parents were like. You don't know. So you might look from the outside and say, oh, I know what a white Mercedes looks like. I know what it feels like to drive own a boat. Sure, I can relate to them. You have no idea. You have no idea what they're going through. So a very important idea is we're each living our own lives, which means that you have tremendous power. That's the message. It's not only the message, oh, don't worry about other people. Don't look outside your own house. That's not the message. The message is that inside your house, it's perfect. You just got to find the perfection in your own house. That's the message. Don't try and live in somebody else's house. Don't try and compare yourself that you're not living their life. You're living your life, and your life is perfect. You don't have to have what everybody else has. You have everything that you need, and you need to find inside your life the happiness and the joy and overcome the challenges and learn how to balance the challenges and learn how to deal with your challenges, etc. Instead of looking outside and saying, I wish I didn't have it, rather inside your house. All the solutions are found there. All right, we're now going to share one last video. Anybody familiar with Dr. Viktor Frankl? I think I brought him up at the first class, right? Yeah. Anybody familiar? Man's Search for Meaning. If you don't own the book and you haven't read the book, I strongly encourage you to go to a website or an app called Amazon, Amazon, and buy it for yourself right now. put it next to your bed, and you read it whenever you want. This is one of the most powerful books. Many people consider this their most powerful book. Everybody officially they have a discussion. What's the most powerful book you've read? For many people, his book is the most powerful book they've read. Dr. Viktor Frankl created the new way of viewing the world called logotherapy. His way of he was a student, I think, of Dr. Sigmund Freud in Berlin. I think it was Berlin, right? In Germany before the war. He had started to create his thoughts. What do you call it? His thesis. Thank you, on logotherapy. He actually had it with him. I think, if I'm remembering the book correctly, he actually had it with him when he went to the camps, or he knew where he kept it, or he had it in his mind, whatever it was. And he was ridiculed. You're going to watch a video right now that he was tremendously ridiculed because he says that at the core of the human being, what we need the most is meaning. We need to know you can get through any challenge in life if you know you're trying to achieve something bigger. And if you can find meaning in your challenges. But primarily, he says, if you realize that your whole life is not your problems now, but what you're going to achieve, and you have something to live for, you have meaning in your life, you can make it through any challenge. He discusses in his book, if you watch it, many people died in the Holocaust. He says they looked like they might have died from syphilis or any kinds of diseases. But he said, really, that if you follow, you would find out when they gave up on life, they found out that families died, members died, or they just thought they just couldn't handle it, or then they got sick and they died. And other people got sick and came right, because they still had something to live for. Well, it's not a judgment. He's just explaining. We're going to watch a video that even after the war, he was trying to develop his book, and you're going to see in the video that he almost gave up because he was being ridiculed. He was considered, it was like everybody else he was so bold and so out of the box, his ideas. Everybody else was like at the core of you is an ego, and I think Freud is all about the id, right? That there's a crazy little child, or like a very at the core of you. I don't know all of their theory or what they believe, but his idea was, what are you talking about? Life is about meaning and purpose. They were like, what are you talking about? It's about desires and drives and etc., etc. And you're gonna see in the video that the Rebbe actually sent somebody to him to tell him to continue his work, and he gives thanks, or he accredits the fact that he followed through and wrote his book to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. To my knowledge, he was married to a non-Jewish woman, did not live his life at all in a Jewish way, but no, she was not, right? And he didn't live a Jewish. After the war, yeah, very, very much so Christian, so Catholic, whatever. So you're going to watch the video now about Dr. Viktor Frankl's life.
Rabbi Yaakov Biderman is the director of Chabad Lubavitch in Austria. Shortly after he arrived in Vienna in 1981, he began to receive annual contributions from Dr. Viktor Frankl, the pioneering psychiatrist and founder of logotherapy.
התעלומה הזו שפרופסור פרנקל מצא לנכון לתרום דווקא לחב"ד, לארגון דתי, לארגון שעוסק בהפצת היהדות, למרות שהוא עצמו בשום צורה לא הזדהה כאדם ששייך, נפטרה לנו הרבה שנים אחר כך. רק בשנת תשנ"ה. איש ביטחון מודיע לי שישנה אישה מבוגרת שמעוניינת לפגוש אותי, ואני אמרתי לו שיכניס אותה. והיא התחילה במילים האלו, היא אמרה לי, קוראים לי מרגרטה חייס. אם אתה חושב שאתם השלוחים הראשונים של הרבי לאוסטריה, יש לי בשבילך הפתעה. אני הייתי השליחה הראשונה של הרבי לאוסטריה. הייתי די המום, והיא ממשיכה לספר. היא קיבלה הזמנה לפגישה ביחידות עם הרבי. ובאותה הזדמנות אני סיפרתי לרבי שמפעם לפעם אני חוזרת לאוסטריה. ובסיום אותו מפגש, באותה יחידות, הרבי ביקש ממנה שבפעם הבאה שהיא נוסעת לאוסטריה, הוא היה רוצה שהיא תיצור קשר עם המזכירות של הרבי. הוא רוצה לבקש ממנה שתמלא משימה מסוימת. היא אומרת, רק כמה חודשים אחר כך התכוננתי לחזור לאוסטריה. אמרו לי בשמו של הרבי שכשאני מגיעה לווינאי, שאני אצור קשר עם פרופסור ויקטור פרנקל, ושאמסור לו בשם הרבי שלא יתייאש ושלא יבוש מפני המלעיגים, ושימשיך בדרכו וימשיך בהפצת משנתו, שיתחזק, והרבי מברך אותו שהשם יצליחו והוא יזכה לפריצת דרך. דוקטור ויקטור פרנקל היה פסיכיאטר עמית של זיגמונד פרויד לפני השואה בווינה. אחרי שהוא היה במחנות ריכוז וחווה מצבים יוצאי דופן, הגיע למסקנה הפוכה. הוא אמר, האדם ביסודו הוא מחפש תכלית ותוכן לחייו, ולכן הוא האמין שרפואת הנפש מאוד קשורה יותר עם הענקת תוכן ואמונה, ערכים לבן אדם. הוא עמד בראש מרפאה חשובה, והוא גם היה מרצה באוניברסיטה, והשתתפו רבים בהרצאותיו, אבל יחד עם זאת, הוא היה מושא ללעג ולקלס, כי האסכולה הפסיכואנליטית של פרויד שלטה בכיפה, והיו מפריעים לו אפילו באמצע הרצאות. הוא היה עד כדי כך פגוע שהוא באותם ימים, כשמרגרטה חייס חיפשה אותו במרפאה, אמרו לה שהוא כבר תקופה לא הופיע. היא הגיעה אליו הביתה. נקשה בדלת ללא כל הודעה, כי לא היה לה אפשרות להודיע לפני כן. והיא תיארה שכשהיא נכנסת לבית, כשהיא פותחת את הדלת, פותחת לה אישה שלא נראית יהודייה. היא יכלה אפילו להבחין שהיה תלוי צלב בתוך הבית. היא הייתה בטוחה שזה מאוד מוזר שהרבי שולח אותה לעודד מישהו שגר בבית כזה. אבל בכל אופן היא עזרה אומץ והיא שאלה אם אפשר לראות בבקשה את דוקטור פרנקל, ואז הוא הופיע בפתח הבית, והוא שאל אותם מה הגברת רוצה, והיא ענתה לו שיש לה בשבילו מסר מרבי שניארסון מברוקלין, ניו יורק. ואז היא אומרת לו, הרב שניארסון ביקש ממני למסור לך שלא תתייאש, שתתחזק, אל תבוש מפני אלו שמלעיגים, סופך להצליח ותזכה לפריצת דרך. בערך אלו, זה היה תוכן הדברים שהיא מסרה לו. היא אומרת, ההתרגשות שלו הייתה משהו שהיא מעולם לא חוותה אצל אדם מבוגר ועוד אצל אישיות כזו. הוא פשוט פרץ בבכי תמרורים. ואחר כך לקח לו זמן עד שהוא יכל לדבר, והוא הראה לניירות שהיו לו על השולחן. אלו היו ניירות תפסי הגירה לאוסטרליה. הוא היה כל כך מדוכא מהיחס אליו, שהוא החליט לעזוב את וינה. ועכשיו, כשהוא קיבל את המסר הזה ממנה, המסר שהרבי העביר אליו, הוא אמר לה, אני אתחזק. אני חוזר לעבודה ואני אמשיך. הוא התחיל בצורה מאוד בטוחה להטיף את משנתו. הספר שלו, האדם מחפש משמעות, Man's Search for Meaning, תורגם ליותר מ-12 שפות. הספר הופץ בלמעלה מ10 מיליון עותקים. אני רציתי לאשש את הסיפור הזה. אחרי שהיא סיפרה לי את זה, אני ביקשתי להתקבל לפגישה אצל פרופסור פרנקל. הוא כבר אז היה די מבוגר, למעלה מגיל 90. אני התקשרתי אליו ושאלתי אם אוכל להתקבל אליו לפגישה. הוא אישית ענה בטלפון בבית, הוא אמר לי שהוא חלש מדי והוא לא יכול להיפגש. הוא גם היה קצת קצר רוח, הוא לא היה במיטבו. אז בכל זאת, בטלפון שאלתי אותו, אם השם, הרבי מלובביץ', הרב שניאורסון אומר לו משהו, רציתי פשוט לבדוק את הנתונים, גם איתו אישית. ברגע שהוא שמע את שמו של הרבי, אז נימת הקול השתנתה לגמרי. הוא פתאום נהיה מאוד סבלני. הוא אמר, ודאי ששמו של הרבי מלובביץ' אומר לי הרבה. אני חייב לו המון. Ich schulde ihm sehr viel, הוא אמר לי בגרמנית. הוא הוסיף ואמר, ich schätze den Rabbi sehr. hat mich in einen sehr kritischen Moment geholfen. ברגע מאוד קריטי הוא עזר לי. אני חייב לו רבות.
That story many years ago. It was when I was searching for a high holiday speech, and it's fascinating to hear it firsthand. This is a real story. This is the Rebbe saved Viktor Frankl. It's a pretty big deal. You know what I'm saying? You go read Man's Social Meaning and do a little bit of research on Viktor Frankl, and you will understand. He's one of the greatest psychologists that ever lived. Anyhow, the idea is that the Rebbe was telling him that your way of seeing the world is important for the world to get. We're not only about looking back in our lives and finding our problems and finding our issues and discussing them and getting stuck in the darkness. His psychology is very much so focused on moving forward. What's the meaning in my life? What's the purpose of my life? Where am I going? What am I achieving? What am I living for? We all have to have things that get us excited, that get us moving. As Jews, the ultimate thing that gets us moving and gets us going is that we are sent down to this world to bring holiness and godliness to the world. A lower level of this idea is, you live to build a business or to support your family, or some people work until they're old, 65 or 70, so that they can travel. You always have to have a goal. Those are all very superficial levels. Then that's why when people retire, they become depressed and overwhelmed, or people sell their business and do well, they become depressed and overwhelmed. You think they should be rejoicing, right? It's interesting. I was sitting with somebody that had sold their business for a fair amount, and he said he went to a meeting for like people that had grown big businesses. He said, let's say there were 12 people in the room, and let's say he said 6 of them still owned their businesses, and 6 of them had already sold their businesses. The 6 that had sold their businesses, the 6 that still owned their businesses were waiting for the day that they could sell their business and exit. They were like, we need to retire. And the 6 that had sold their businesses were trying their best to figure out how to get back into business. Because they were like, what am I doing all day? So work and all of that is one idea, but really there's something much deeper, connected to what we spoke about before. You have a soul, you have a neshama. Your soul is down here to light up the world. Torah, mitzvahs, tefillin, mezuzah, realizing that I am here from Hashem, realizing that the challenges that I have are not random. Hashem gives them to me because I can overcome them. In my challenges, I'm going to find blessings. Inside of me, I'm going to find something deeper than my problems and my issues. I'm going to find my neshama, my soul, my purpose, my meaning, who I am, etc., etc. All of these ideas are all interconnected. So, in conclusion, the Rebbe says, in tonight's class we discussed, number one is, on a practical level, negativity comes along, remove yourself from negativity. It's never good. Okay, again, disclaimer. The person's going through a really hard time, you need to go to a doctor. We're talking about when a person's already kind of on an even playing field. If you're finding yourself overwhelmed and sad and depressed, and you can't come out of it, you need to go see a doctor. It's okay. Mental health is a health. Sometimes you need medication. Now that we're talking about people on even playing fields, don't get stuck in negativity. Even if negativity says you should be holier, you should be better, the negativity is never good. You should always be positive and focusing on good things. Rebbe told Mrs. Lipsker, go dance at weddings. Remember? Find things that break the cycle. Find things that are positive. When your mind comes up with negativity, thank you very much for your negative thoughts. Put it on the side and focus on what's good. The Rebbe told the prisoner, forget about your past. Don't dwell on your negativity. Don't dwell on what you've done in the past. Find the good inside of you. Then we had the beautiful interview with the psychologist who said that the Rebbe was able to save that young boy who was in whatever, either a cult or who knows what kind of place he was in that he thought the person could never come out of. Because the Rebbe says inside of you, there's something far greater than you even know you have. Right? We all have an neshama. We're all able to overcome our challenges in our lives. Then the final idea of Viktor Frankl, which is fascinating when you do a little more study on Viktor Frankl, that the Rebbe is the one that saved Viktor Frankl. It's fascinating. That his idea is you got to live your life with a bigger purpose, meaning purpose. You can't just be alive because you're not dead. Say that again. You can't just be alive because you're not dead. Just because you're breathing doesn't mean you're alive. Being alive means I'm giving off life, and I'm making a difference, and I'm lighting up the world around me, and that's through kindness and goodness, and as a Jew through Shabbos, kosher, mezuzah, shul, praying, realizing that I'm not just here randomly, tzedakah, being kind to other people, charity, all of these things. This is how we live our lives, and this is how we light up the world. We are all here for a bigger purpose. Don't allow yourself to get stuck in darkness. It's all the voices of negativity, which are from the Yetzer Hara. We have to try and remove ourselves from them as much as possible. And the Rebbe discussed very clearly, it doesn't mean you run away from your negativity. You set aside a specific time. Either you speak to a good friend about it, or you speak to your therapist, or you journal, or you ask God for help at certain times, etc. We don't have to run away from our negativity, but at the same time, it's never okay to become embroiled and overwhelmed in darkness. Our job is to be messengers of light down here, and we bring light by being positive and joyous. So if things aren't bringing you positivity and joy, you need to put them aside and find a time how to deal with it. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Mark, how do I yeah. But how do I stop the recording?
It'll cut when you and then.
Just end?
In the meeting.